Hey, my name is David White, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to write better headlines. I'm going to give you a prompt that you can use to get artificial intelligence to write better headlines for you. And then we're going to do a shootout, and we're going to figure out of all the artificial intelligence tools that are out there, like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Gemini, formerly known as Bard, which one should you be using for writing your headlines? So here's the deal. Headlines are so incredibly important, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about a sales page or the title of a YouTube video or a landing page or even the headline of an ad. Really, every single one of us should be spending more time thinking about our headlines and trying to make them sound a whole lot better. Now, a headline should do one of a couple of different things. Number one, it should speak to a specific benefit that you know that your audience wants, that they're going to get with your offer. Secondly, it should speak about the transformation that they will experience from using your thing, whatever it is. So there's life before they use your product, and there's the things that they don't like about their life, the way that they feel, their status, how their average day sucks, and how you can change it. And then there's life after your product has done its job, and there's a new way of how they feel. They have a new status, and their average day looks different and better. Now, that's the second thing that you can talk about in your headline. And the third thing that you could talk about if you wanted to is the specific mechanism of how your headline works. So to recap, your headline can be about a big benefit. It can be about the transformation from life before to life after using your product. It can be about the mechanism. You can do a whole bunch of other things as well, of course. You can do social proof type headlines as another example. But generally speaking, you want your headline to be really punchy, to grab your audience's attention and to make them think, you know what? I do want to read that. That does sound like it was made specifically for people just like me. And that is the kind of result that I'm looking for. So with that said, what we're going to do right now is we're going to get ChatGPT, or I'm going to show you ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, which is Google's LLM AI, formerly known as Bard. We're going to give them all the same prompt, and we're going to get them to write headlines for a program of mine called the AI email machine, which is all about how to use artificial intelligence to write your emails for you. We're going to figure out which one of these is the best. I'm going to show you a little tool that you can use to get all of them to work a lot better for you. And then we're going to talk about at the end the difference between smart and dumb AIs, which is very important to know. So with that said, let me show you the prompts that I used to get these LLMs to write my headlines for me. Now, like I always do, I started out my prompt with what I call a master prompt, which is just a basic couple of paragraphs that says, hey, I own this kind of business. I help these kinds of business owners and marketers. Here's the sort of stuff that I teach them. Here's what life looks like after they use my product. Here are my values and those sorts of things. And then I went on to say this in my prompt. You're an expert landing page copywriter, and you know how to brainstorm and identify high converting, catchy, and value driven headlines that will encourage my visitors to take action. I need your help coming up with 20 highly tactical headlines for the sales page of my new AI email machine class. I'll give you the sales page copy below. A headline must speak to a specific benefit, some kind of transition from a before state prior to my customer using my product, and an after state of what their life will look like once they're done using my product, or a specific mechanism. So this is all the stuff that we just spoke about at the start of this video. And then finally, I said, use copywriting styles from guys like Dan, Ryan, Frank, Gary, Ogilvy, Schwartz when you're writing these headlines. Nothing fluffy or hyperbolic or vague, please. Make each headline at least 30 words. So to recap here, this is what I'm asking ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to do. First and foremost, I'm telling it, hey, I want you to act as a marketer. Now, this is very important because if you don't teach these tools to act like a direct response marketer, it might act like a brand marketer and just write you a headline that sounds like a slogan such as just do it or something like that. Next, I've given it specific instructions. I've told it what a good job of following those instructions will look like. And then because I know that these LLM tools are trained on folks like this, I've said, hey, try and copy this. Don't be fluffy or hyperbolic or vague. And that is really kind of a 30,000 foot overview of how I structure pretty much all of my prompts is I try and tell ChatGPT, you're going to act like this, you're going to do this job, here's what it looks like when you do that job well. And then if I can give it anything else to reference, like, hey, write like this or focus on this particular part of my product, go ahead and do it. And then, like I said, I pasted my sales page. So with that said, let me pull up the results that we got. We're going to start out with good old ChatGPT. And here's what ChatGPT said. Gave me 20 variations as I requested. And in this very first version, I looked at these and I thought, you know what? I'm going to score these out of 1. A score of 0 is, I don't like this and there's nothing here that I can use. And a score of 1 is, hey, I don't love it necessarily, but there's something here that I can work with. And one of the examples that I wrote down of variations of this headline that I liked was this one. Turn every subscriber into a success story. I didn't like this, the AI email machine approach to winning hearts and boosting sales, but this, I looked at this and I thought, you know what? I could do something with that. I could rewrite that in some particular way. So ChatGPT, from this prompt for the very first time, I gave it a score of 5 out of 20. Now Claude, if I go up to exactly the same prompt here, Claude had an interesting approach. It was much better. I thought it did write longer headlines like I asked. If you recall, I said try and make them all at least 30 words, and I gave Claude a score of 8 here. So some of the examples that I liked were your fast track ticket to crafting world-class email copy that captivates, converts, and creates raving fans. So this word, I don't love this word. I don't like the whole idea of a fast track ticket, but crafting world-class copy that converts and creates raving fans, don't mind that. That's one of the versions that I highlighted. Here was another one. Forget years of practice. Discover how AI can help you write email copy that sells like crazy in just a few minutes a day. That's something else, again, that I could work with. Now, I'm going to point out here really quickly, there's a lot of places in Claude and ChatGPT's outputs where they use buzzwords like unlock, transform, unleash, discover, really fluffy sort of buzzwords that I don't like. I don't like it when they use that. They do it all the time. So if you ever see those sorts of things happening when you ask artificial intelligence to do work for you, words like transform, unlock, unleash, elevate, revolutionize, skyrocket, don't use those words. They happen too often. So ChatGPT got a score of 5. Claude got a score of 8. I went to Gemini, formerly known as Bard, and I gave it exactly the same prompt. And oh my God, check this out as I pull up my screen. Clear winner. This is probably one of the best things I've ever seen artificial intelligence do in the 9 months or whatever that I've been using it. So, almost called it Claude. Gemini broke up headlines based on different styles of author. So Dan Kennedy, here's how he would write this headline. And this is actually pretty damn good. Same thing with Ryan Dice. He's a big on naming stuff. Attention deficit marketer, lazy marketer. Headlines inspired by Frank Kern. Headlines inspired by Gary Halbert. Headlines inspired by David Ogilvy. Headlines inspired by Eugene Schwartz. And then a couple of combinations. The missing piece in your marketing arsenal, scientifically proven results. The future of email marketing is here. I don't like that, but man, this is amazing. As soon as I saw this, I didn't bother to score it. I was like, Gemini is easily the best headline writing AI tool that I've seen so far. But we're not going to stop there. I've got another tool that I think will really help you here. So what you saw me sharing the prompt earlier was me giving instructions that said, like, you're going to act as a headline writer who knows how to grab my audience's attention and get them to want to read my article or my sales page or whatever it might be. You're going to write me 20 examples of a headline. Here's what a well-written headline looks like. Go ahead and give me 20 versions like Frank, like Eugene, like Dan Kennedy, like Ryan Dice, like David Ogilvy. You can go one step further. If you really want to get the best results from using artificial intelligence, you can give it a framework to work on. So if we step away from the headline example for just a moment, if I said to any one of these AIs, write me an ad, write me a social media ad or something like that, it's going to do an okay job. If I go to one of these AI tools and I say, write me an ad, the first 3 sentences need to look like this and they need to achieve this. The next part of the ad needs to say this sort of stuff and it needs to achieve this. The ending of the ad needs to give the call to action. It includes bullet points and then it does this before the sign off. That ad, if I ask for it with that kind of framework, is going to work a whole lot better. So one of the tools that you can use when you're writing headlines is a tool called a swipe file, which is basically, I'll show you an example now actually. It is basically templates, headline templates for want of a better term, that you can sort of like plug in specific words or specific things about your product to make it sound like you. Every single copywriter should have a headline swipe file. Headline swipe file. This will make you faster and this will make you better at coming up with headlines that convert. But essentially, it looks like this. It'll have stuff like, for people who want desired end result but can't, something to do with an obstacle. How to turn blank into desired result. How to use blank, how to use blank to achieve desired result. Do you know the early warning signs of your email list getting sick of you? That would be another one that you could use. So what I've done here to really push these AI tools to the limit is I've gone to ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, and I've just followed up and said, try again, but use this headline swipe file to make these headlines grab attention and encourage further reading. Now, on the second at bat here, ChatGPT did do better. I thought that every single one of these was better than the first version. The first time around, I gave it a score of 5. Here, I gave it a score of 8. So things like this. Do you know the early warning signs of a failing email strategy? That's something that I can work with. The quickest way I know to revamp your email marketing with AI at your side. Don't love this, but that's something that I can definitely work with. Same thing with Claude. I gave it exactly the same follow-up prompt. I don't know how it figured out which ones of these are templates and that formatting is terrible. I don't know why it came out like that, but Claude went ahead and improved as well. So initially Claude, I gave it a score of 8. Here I'm going to give it a score of 11. If we look at one of these in particular, a simple way that busy marketers can create high converting email sequences in a fraction of the time. That's pretty close to something that I might actually use on a sales page. Now, again, of course, I can go to Claude and say, use this headline swipe file to write me 20 more variations. And now I'll have 40. In fact, I'll have 60. And it's much better to have 60 things that you can choose from than just 3. Claude's going to go ahead and do all the work here for me, which is fantastic. But the winner again was Gemini. So it went through and it categorized things by gain headlines, which is fantastic, threat headlines, social proof headlines, intrigue headlines, and then it even gave me a couple of bonus ones as well, which is fantastic. So here's the kind of first takeaway. Number 1, if you give artificial intelligence a framework to work in, such as saying a well-written email looks like this, a well-written ad contains these elements, a well-written headline might look something like one of these templates in the swipe file, which I'll share with you below, you're going to get a much better result. The second thing is these tools, they all kind of work differently. So clearly Gemini was the winner here. ChatGPT, I was kind of disappointed with how often it used those hyperbolic, fluffy buzzwords like revolutionize and unleash and skyrocket and elevate. I was, surprised by that a little bit because from everything that I've seen, ChatGPT has been the best AI tool so far. So that's the second takeaway. And the third thing is really take some time to work on your headlines. Don't just fart something out, stick it on a page and hope that that's going to work for you. In the words of David Ogilvy, who was the greatest of all time when it came to this kind of stuff, he said, when you've written your headline, you've spent 80 cents out of your dollar. In other words, like 80% of whether your ad works or not is, can your headline actually get someone to read your ad? Can your headline get someone to read your sales page? And if you can't get that right, you've pretty much gone ahead and wasted your money. Now, one final thought, and this is something that I've observed over the last 6 weeks. the last 8 weeks, and I shared this with the members of my flagship program, the AI Marketing Hub, recently, is I think there's a real difference between dumb AI tools and smart AI tools. So I know if I go to something like ChatGPT and I give it a complicated prompt where I say, here is the copy from my sales page. I want you to act like a headline writer who knows how to create headlines that grab people's attention. Here are 40 examples of headlines that I've written in the past. If I give it more and more complicated tasks like that, it's going to be able to do them. Whereas if I go to a tool like Claude or a tool like Gemini, they're not as smart. Like there's just no way I could go to Claude as an example and say, here's a transcript from a webinar that I just hosted. I want you to write an email that looks like this. Here's a swipe file of emails that I've written in the past. Make it happen. Claude's just going to get too confused. Gemini does, it's very new, so this is understandable, but it gets very easily confused. Like if you use the word images or pictures kind of anywhere in your prompt, it says, hey, I can't make images and pictures yet, sorry. So there's something funny going on there. And of course, it's had a few issues with being overly woke. I hate that word, but it's had some problems with trying to be a little bit too politically correct. So I think ChatGPT for me, I'm still going to say this is my chosen horse for the artificial intelligence race. But I think that tools like Claude and tools like Gemini, if you ask them to do simple things like write me a headline or maybe rewrite me a different version of this email so I can run it as a split test or something like that, they can be very powerful and effective too. So, hope you found this helpful. My name is David White from Learn Marketing AI. If you enjoyed this, make sure you click on that subscribe button and check out another video from the channel here. I'll see you in the next one.